Shalom, friends. This is Dr. William Schnoebelen coming to you again on the With One Accord Ministries channel. And today, as promised, we're going to discuss one of the more, shall we say, contentious issues today within the body of Moshe, at least within the English-speaking world. And that is the issue of the Bible. For many, literally hundreds of years, for English-speaking people, the King James Bible was the gold standard. It was in fact, for most intents and purposes, it was the only Bible. And it has stood the test of time. Now, only in the last 110, 120 years has this begun to be attacked by other translations. And I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about that because the fact is, it's a money thing. The King James Bible does not have a copyright on it, except for the Crown copyright, which goes back to the 1600s and doesn't really matter anymore. Anybody can publish a King James Bible, but there's no money in it. And because of that, all these other Bible versions have come out, and there's hundreds of them now in English. I'm not even talking about other languages. And every one of them is a little bit different. And why is that? Because in order to get a copyright, you have to take material, I'd have to come up with entirely original material, or else you have to take material that exists and change it substantially. And so, for example, there are over 35,000 changes in the popular NIV Bible today from the King James Bible. And obviously, here's the problem. They both can't be true. Either the King James Bible is true or the NIV Bible is true. They can't both be true because they contradict each other. And, there's all sorts of controversy about this, but I would just say, let's go to what the Bible itself says. The Bible gives us a promise here in Psalm 12, in verse 6 and 7. It says, "The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver, tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever." Now, there's 2 key things here, but I want to concentrate on the second verse that I read. It says, "Thou shalt keep them," meaning his words. "Thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever." Now, what does that mean, this generation? It means basically human beings. The words of the Almighty are pure words, and they will be kept pure by being kept from wicked people that are trying to pervert them. And so that's a promise right here in the scriptures. And if the Almighty said it, who can disannul it? And so therefore, at some point you have to say there is the Almighty's words here, now, where we can read them. And that's the problem, because all these other translations, the NAS, the NIV, the New English Version, all these other versions, they all say, oh, well, they're only the original autographs are the word of Yahuwah. Only, like the ancient writings of Isaiah are that way. Only the writings of John or Matthew or whatever are inspired and perfect. Well, the problem with that is, folks, we don't have those anymore. We do not have the original autographs of John, it would be wonderful if we did. But obviously, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, did not feel it was important enough to preserve them, because it could be done. I mean, the Almighty can do the wonderful things he did, like part the Red Sea, turn water into wine, raise Yahushua from the dead. He could certainly preserve some manuscripts, but he chose not to, because he knew and he foresaw what would happen in these end times. And what would happen is simple. Because King James, who, by the way, was not either a Freemason or a homosexual, those are lies that are put out by the anti-King James people, because he authorized this translation. He didn't do it, he just authorized it. And he had some of the most righteous, set-apart scholars that have ever lived perform this work. They were both Anglican scholars, but they were also Puritan scholars. And they put together this amazing achievement with the help of the Ruach HaKodesh. And, you know, I would submit to you that if you went down and you looked at, say, the RSV and on forward, because the RSV was the first Bible other than King James to be translated into English that has had any kind of traction. And the men that translated that book were not set apart. In fact, the core philosophy behind that was Westcott and Hort, and those men were spiritualists, they were occultists, they were apostates, they were closet Roman Catholics, and they're the ones that we're supposed to believe in instead of the King James Bible. I'm sorry, friends. It is not going to wash. And it comes down to this. Whose word are you going to believe? The interesting thing about the first verse I read here in in Psalm 12:6, is it says that the words of the Lord are pure words, tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. If you look at the history of Bible translations, the Bible, since its completion in the days of John, because as far as anybody understands, he was the last apostle to write his material, there have been 7 languages through which the Bible has gone. And then, as if that wasn't enough, there have been 7 English Bibles, like the Bishop's Bible, the Geneva Bible, the Great Bible, and so on. And at the very culmination, at the very zenith of those 7 languages, and then the 7 English versions, along comes the King James Bible. And, you know, some people will say that the King James Bible is hard to read. And that might be true in this day and age. But I would tell you, for one thing, we are not as literate today as we were 100 years ago. We have become a very visual culture, with all the TV and videos and whatnot. And it takes a little work, just like eating healthy food takes a little work. I mean, broccoli isn't as fun to eat as ice cream is. But yet ice cream will kill you if you eat too much of it, whereas broccoli will keep you alive. And in the same way, all these other Bibles are spiritual junk food or worse. They're spiritual poison. Whereas the King James Bible is nourishment. You know, the word of Yahuwah is called bread, it's called honey, it's called milk, it's called meat. You've got a whole feast here right before you for your soul and your spirit and your body. But I would tell you, I mean, without getting into other languages, I mean, for an English-speaking person, you've got to stick to the King James Bible for doctrinal truth, because all the other Bibles have been fooled with doctrines like the virgin birth, the deity of Moshiach, of Christ, and many, many other doctrines have been tampered with in these other versions, and they are basically heretical Bibles. This Bible is not. And as a result, this is where you can go to find the truth. There has to be one final authority, because Yahuwah, we are told, is not the author of confusion. And to have contradicting Bibles, contradicting themselves, has caused disunity and strife within the body. It has also destroyed our spiritual power. And therefore, we need the King James Bible and its truth to keep us on the right path, to keep us walking in the footsteps of Moshiach. Thank you, friends. Please come and visit us again, and shalom.